Hey everyone, it's great to see you all again. Have you ever been in a situation where no matter what, you had to crank up your ISO so that your image wasn't completely dark? Whether it was shooting astrophotography, wildlife, where a bird is whizzing through your frame, or maybe you just forgot your tripod and you need to bump up your shutter speed in order to capture that pin sharpness in your photo. Whatever the case was, we've all been in that situation where we bring our photos back to Lightroom and they look a little something like this, full of noise. And while you may think all hope is lost, today we're going to jump into Lightroom and I'm going to take you through the steps you can use to reduce the noise in your photo without sacrificing sharpness and clarity. I hope you all enjoy. First of all, what is ISO and why does it cause noisy photos? ISO in photography refers to the sensitivity to light your camera sensor is. A higher ISO means your camera sensor is going to be more sensitive and gathers more light. Think of ISO like adjusting the gain on a speaker system. When you increase the gain, the speaker becomes more sensitive to sound and amplifies not only the main noise, but also background noise and any interference with the audio signal, creating distortion or noise in this case. However, there are a few ways you can prevent having to raise your ISO on location. Number one is to use a wider aperture or a low f-stop number. Using an aperture like f2.8 or 1.4 will let in a lot more light than f9 or even f4. However, be mindful of the depth of field change as you adjust that setting. Another way is to lower your shutter speed. This allows your camera to gather more light over a longer period of time. However, it's very helpful and sometimes necessary to use a tripod. If you or the subject you are shooting is moving while you're using a slower shutter speed, your photo is just going to turn out blurry and there's almost nothing that can fix that. It's always better to have a noisy photo than a blurry photo. And the last thing is to just add more light. This may involve using a flash or external bar lights to illuminate your subject. Like I said, we have all been in a scenario where none of those are an option. Mine happened to be on a helicopter ride over the Nepali coast in Kauai. Due to the movement and speed at which we were flying, I was forced to crank up my shutter speed in order to compensate for that. In turn, I had to raise my ISO, resulting in some pretty noisy images. So let's jump into Lightroom and see what we can do. So like I said, this was an image from my helicopter tour in Kauai, and if I just zoom in here, you'll notice that there is not only a lot of normal luminance noise, but there is also a lot of color noise. Another thing that I'd like to mention is that it'll be much easier to reduce noise if you're using a raw photo, also before you put on any edits. This makes sure that you're not enhancing the clarity or sharpness of the noise itself. Let's clean up the photo before you make any edits to the photo. So as you can see, this is the complete raw photo with no edits on it. There's no edits, but there are a lot of noise. So the first thing we could do is that we could go down to Lightroom's noise reduction tool. And as you'll see, the AI denoise, we'll get to that a little bit later, but if we wanted to do it manually, which sometimes can be a helpful thing to do, especially just to learn how to do it so you can kind of see what's actually going on. So as you can see in the manual noise reduction, you're going to see luminance and color. So the color is going to eliminate all of the purple and green and just unwanted color noise that there is, and then the luminance is going to reduce the rest of the noise that is left over after we get rid of the color noise. So you're going to want to zoom into your photo by a decent amount so you can see all the color, and you just want to bring this slider over, and as you can see, it's just desaturating all of the color noise, and you'll get to a certain point where no matter how much you move the slider, it's not going to make a difference. As you can see, I hit my threshold about 25, maybe about 20, and then no matter how much you move it over here, it's not going to make a difference because all that noise is going to be gone. So I'll put it about 25 here, and as you can see, that actually improved the image by quite a bit already, just adjusting the color noise. But now you have all of this extra luminance noise that we can adjust with this setting. So let's just slide this over, and you're going to want to slide it over not too much. If you slide it over too much, it's just going to make a smooth mess of your photo. Yes, all the noise is gone, but there's no detail, there's no clarity in any of the photo. You'll want to move this slider over until there's almost no noise, but then if you zoom out, it's not too blurry. As you can see, this did a pretty decent job. If we just zoom in here, maybe we could do a little bit more, not too much more. We don't want to make it too smooth. And there you go. If we do just a before and after of just those two sliders, here's before and here is after. As you can see, it is a bit smooth. So that is where we want to come in and reduce the luminance a little bit. And then also bump up the detail to maybe around 70. And then the contrast, you can just boost a little bit. And as you can see, that'll just adjust the contrast around the noise, just bringing back a little bit of detail. As you can see, there is still a little bit of noise, but if we just do a before and after, if you zoom in, the detail is pretty much still there. And also all of the noise is gone. So if we just go up to the detail section, turn this on and off, turn this off and on, and then turn this off and on. There is a little bit of smoothness to it, so that is one thing that we'll want to adjust with the sharpness. So if you just hold down Option, and slide the masking slider over, what is in white is what's going to be affected, and what's in black is what's not going to be affected. So we don't want to do everything, and we don't want to do nothing. So drag this to about usually between 50 and 70, depending on your photo, maybe even a little bit less. Just get all of the detail that you want to be sharpened, and then adjust the amount just a little bit, the detail just a tad bit. And as you can see, I'll zoom in here so it's easier to see. And I'm just holding down Option to see what it is selecting. Is just adjust the detail a little bit, and then also adjust the radius, and that'll increase the sharpness as well. So now if we do a before and after of what we all did, the sharpness tool in Lightroom, I actually prefer to do my sharpening mostly in Photoshop. But if we zoom out here, and that is quite a bit of sharpness, I'm going to take that down actually quite a bit. So if we do a before and after, a before and after, it did a pretty decent job. Although doing it manually definitely has some limitations. You'll have to play with the color and luminance sliders a little bit more depending on your photo. That being said, Lightroom's AI denoise tool has given us the opportunity to eliminate pretty much all the noise while not sacrificing detail and clarity. So let's reset this, and then we'll go up to the noise reduction denoise tool. And as you can see, I'm sure you've seen this before, but this is just going to give you a preview of what it's going to look like after and what's going to look like before. So we have three options. We have denoise, we have raw details, and super resolution. And we're going to be focusing on the denoise tool right now. I think it defaults at about 50, but if you've used it before, then it'll default to what you used the last time. And you don't want to crank this all the way up like we talked about before. This will just create a smooth mess of your photo. And if you just drag this around, if you click down, it'll show you the before, and then if you let go, it'll show you the after, although we don't want to go all the way up to 100. Usually between 25 and 40 is where I'm at with the denoise tool. Not that I use it very often. I don't shoot astrophotography very often, although that is something that I'm going to be definitely trying out in the near future. But as you can see, if you just drag this around, it's going to eliminate all the color noise and all the luminance noise with just a click of a button. And I'm gonna do it about 32, 33, maybe up to 35 actually. And then we click enhance, and then it says it's gonna be about 3 minutes, but yours might be a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, depending on what you put your setting it as. So pretty much what this is gonna do is that's gonna create a completely separate DNG file of your photo with the enhancements on, so you can make the edits to that photo and then refer it back to the raw, which we're gonna do in a second here. And there we go, it just got done. And as you can see, that there is almost no noise present here. If we just compare it, just shift click and then compare. As we can compare, let's just zoom in a little bit. There's just so much noise here, and let's go to the same area over here. The detail is brought back, the colors are even better. There's a little bit of smoothness, but again, that might have been my fault in adjusting the setting. But as you can see, that there is just so much more color and detail, and the noise is essentially gone. If we zoom all the way out, you can almost not even tell that there was noise in this photo, and you can't even tell really that it's super smooth out. Another thing you can do is just sharpen this photo a little bit more, create a little bit more contrast on the edges, and that'll bring out the details a little bit more. So I hope you all learned something from this video, whether you like the manual noise reduction or the Lightroom's AI noise reduction. I think it's important to use both in certain situations, and also important to realize how to use both. Play around with it a little bit, adjust what you need to adjust for your photo. But I hope you all learned something from today's video. I'd be so grateful if you could subscribe to my newsletter where I'll post weekly updates. I also have print sales on my website. And for daily updates, you can follow or like my Facebook page. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.